Hello there, Dr. Joseph Martin again. The person we'd like to share and learn about today is Ramakrishna. Paramahansa Ramakrishna, meaning Paramahansa is a Sanskrit word meaning great swan, and Ramakrishna is a very famous Hindu mystic, ascetic, monk, and deity in a way now from the 19th century. He was born in 1836 to a very poor family in Bengal, a Brahmin family, in fact, and he lived for 50 years until 1886. He's a household name now in many families around the world, east, west, and beyond, tribals, in fact. What is so unique about Ramakrishna is that even though he was a very learned man and he knew all the ancient Vedic texts, the Mahabharata, all the other ancient texts, the Bhagavad Gita, and so on, the Ramayana. He started having mystical experiences when he was 6 years of age. He would simply go into divine ecstasy, looking at a rice field or walking along and just listening to his inner heart and wisdom. By the time he was 13 or 14 years of age, he was having mystical experiences daily, and by the time he was 23, he was in a constant state of divine ecstasy and awareness, what is called Nirvikalpi Samadhi, which is the highest state we know in yoga and meditation of Samadhi. Nirvikalpi Samadhi means that you have constant access to the spirit world and constantly in ecstasy and pure joy with your union with the source and the divine of all that is in the universe and here on earth. Now, Ramakrishna was brought by his family into an arranged marriage when he was 23 years of age to a 5-year-old woman. Of course, in the 19th century and still today in many parts of India, this was and is very common. And her name was Sarada Devi. Sarada Devi will be the substance of the next video that we'll be offering to you for your own enlightenment. In any case, it wasn't until Sarada Devi was 18 years of age that she came to live with Ramakrishna, and they never consummated their marriage for many reasons. By then, Ramakrishna was already a monk and had taken ascetic vows of the monks in India. He was a yogi, a Bhakti yogi, just interested in divine union with the light and with the love. As a devotee of Kali and Shiva, that was his basis of his Advaita Vedanta, the non-dual philosophy of the wisest of the Hindu truths from ancient times and modern times. Advaita Vedanta, we will be doing videos on that as well. And in this non-dualistic or unified awareness of spirit and earth realms as one, he was a divine monk. And not only that, Ramakrishna was one of many gay mystics of all times, of all religions, of all traditions, and so that was part of his own nature, which was another reason why he never consummated his marriage sexually with Sarada Devi. When Ramakrishna was 39 years of age, he was brought into the Brahmo Samaj, which is another group in India. It still exists today there, and became instantly a mystical teacher for all the young men and monks who were in the Brahmo Samaj. And from the age of 39 to 43, he started to develop a temple to Kali and Shiva in Dakshineshwar in India, which is where he's best known still, and the temple is still there in Dakshineshwar. When he was 43, he was able to magnetize the greatest of all his disciples, a group of at least 12 great disciples, and 12, of course, is a common number for great spiritual teachers who come back to the earth plane. And Ramakrishna is known to have said that he was the reincarnation of both Rama, a great historical Hindu figure, and Krishna, again another historical figure from the Bhagavad Gita, as you know. And together he took the name Ramakrishna. When he was 43 years of age, then he was magnetizing some of the greatest monks or would-be monks to be, and philosophers and greatest minds and hearts of all the men in India and some of the women as well. There were some great nuns that joined him as well. Probably first and foremost, as best known, is Vivekananda. His given name was Narendra, and he's known as Swami Vivekananda, and we have a video on him that you probably would like to look at. One of the greatest, wisest social philosophers and divine purveyors of truth the world has known for many, many centuries. And there are others who were well known, Brahmananda and Abhedananda and Nirmalananda, the last being one of the great female nuns that was with him. And of course, his wife, Sarada Devi, whom he called an incarnation of the divine feminine, and was called, and still is called worldwide, the Holy Mother. Today we find in all the great cities of the West and in some parts of the East, the Ramakrishna Vivekananda Foundation or societies, the Advaita Vedanta societies. There are some in New York City, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and many other cities of the Western world. You can find all the books there and any information online about Paramahansa Ramakrishna. As he was able to speak and give all sorts of mystical directions and divine blessings to many people from all over the world who came to visit him, including many people from the West, there was a Dr. Hastie who ran the Scottish Church College in Calcutta, and he was responsible for bringing some of Ramakrishna's teachings to the West, to Max Muller, the great German mythologist, and to Longfellow and Wordsworth, the great poets from the West. Vivekananda also studied at this church college and learned all of Western philosophy there. And it was through this process that Ramakrishna was able to give a directive and say that eventually, over the centuries, all families in the world would have a photo of him and his consort, divine feminine, Holy Mother, Sarada Devi. And that is the case here in Canada today. Many people are devotees of both of them and have photos of them in their homes, as do I. Ramakrishna and Sarada Devi have been an important part of my life as an individual on my divine search for union with the divine source of all that is, and I have studied their lives and have all the books available. There are some biographies of Ramakrishna, one by Mahendra that you might want to have a look at, and of course Vivekananda has written many, many books, many of them about his teachings with Ramakrishna and what he learned. Vivekananda had spent dozens of years walking through India to find one person who knew God personally, and finally he ended up with Ramakrishna. So this is an important thing. You know, as we say, Joseph Campbell used to say to us, out of 100 people, 99 people would rather go to lectures on God, and only 1 out of 100 really wants to know God. So there's an interesting kind of thought for you to move around in your heart. Ramakrishna, later in his 40s, developed throat cancer from speaking too much to all the people from all over the world who came to listen to him, and he was kind and open with everyone, and developed throat cancer as a result of just talking all the time to people who really wanted to know what it is like personally to know God directly in your heart, consciously all the time. And he was able then in the last year of his life, when he was suffering quite a bit from the throat cancer and losing a lot of weight, before his passing, he said and gave to Vivekananda, his prime disciple, all his spiritual powers and wisdom, and in fact his Nirvikalpi Samadhi, the ability to have complete and full continuous super consciousness of the Christ consciousness and the cosmic consciousness. And he just touched Vivekananda's third eye, and Vivekananda went into a swoon, and an instant light came into his third eye and gave him all the wisdom and knowledge of the world. And Vivekananda and the other main disciples actually traveled all over India after Ramakrishna's passing into the spirit world, and eventually, of course, Vivekananda was the very first Hindu person who came to the Western world in 1893 to the World Congress of Religions and spoke there. and you can find his address online. Now, Ramakrishna was also a devotee besides Kali and Shiva and the whole Shivite tradition of Advaita Vedanta. He was also a follower of Islam and Christianity, and he said that all spiritual paths lead up the mountain to the one source at the top. So he was a universalist and perhaps one of the first in the modern era. Ramakrishna has many great things to share with us and teach us in this time where there's a growing global consciousness of the unity of all humanity and the absolute need, if we're going to survive as a species and the earth is to survive, that we need to have an in-touchness with our own divinity, our own source, with the one source of all that is in our heart, not just in our mind through our academic training and reading, but in our heart as the blessing of that joy, that constant joy that feeds you and gives you fearlessness, courage, strength, and mostly joy, love, and blessings. So that's our little introduction to Ramakrishna, the great 19th century mystic, ascetic, and Hindu saint for all time. All love and blessings to you. Namaste, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Kali Ma, and may you always be blessed, and may Ramakrishna come to your heart and teach you in your inner light, your inner world. All love, all blessings.